Yeah, and something that's really stuck with me, and I believe in it wholeheartedly, is the idea of skin cycling your ingredients. I think that makes a tremendous difference, and it is a way that you can really work in those actives and not feel like your face is going to fall off or you're not doing too much, not doing the most.
If you love beauty, you probably know Jill Dunn and Carleen Higgins. They are longtime beauty editors and co-hosts of their own podcast, Breaking Beauty, which I am a listener. They are true experts in the industry, whether it be emerging trends, products that are and aren't worth your money, and even beauty news. The info that I have personally gained from their show throughout the years has been invaluable. Tune in today as we talk about the latest trends in beauty, like, are celebrity beauty brands dead? What is going on with all these beauty incubators? What are they and why are they drying up? We're going to talk about all of their holy grail products and also which celebrities haven't been the best to talk to. This episode is a fun one, and I guarantee you're going to walk away with one new beauty find you have to try. Thank you so much for being here, both of you. As I mentioned, when I just did your podcast, I'm a huge fan of it. I've been a long-time listener. You guys have had some amazing guests, so I really, really appreciate you guys taking the time to come on Skin Enthusiast.
Thank you so much for having us.
So I like to start every episode asking, in this case, we'll ask each of you, what is your first skincare memory? Whoever wants to start.
My first skincare memory is, well, I have a couple. One is my mom putting me to bed and the aroma of oil of Olay, as it was called at that time. It really I don't know, there was just like a comfortable, and it's funny because now I don't really like scent in my face care because I have rosacea and my skin's pretty sensitive, but that is like a core memory where it, I just remember always, it was so comforting when she'd just like hug me to bed. And then that was like the last thing I would smell. So that's one thing. I think for myself personally, my mom also at one point used to sell New Skin, which was like a early MLM, like back, I don't know, in like the 80s or 90s or something. And so I kind of benefited from all the extra stock that she wouldn't be able to sell or whatever. We just always had skincare in the house. So when I was a teenager, I was using these like glacial marine muds and this aloe vera gel, which was like a gel moisturizer good for acne skin. So I just had these great. They had a huge bathroom. It was like the same size as my bedroom. So I would spend hours in there. I literally brought the TV in there and remember watching the Olympics and like having my tea and looking at magazines and just like treating myself. And I just always still remember that. And I love like a cooling mask, an aloe mask today.
I love that. And Jill?
For me, I think it was just straight into the teenage skincare routine, like core memory unlocked, talking about Noxzema, give me that tingle. I loved the TV commercials where it's like splashing it and it's like fresh faced beauties, like the whole culture around like skincare in the early 90s and whatnot. I just absolutely loved it. And I used all the things. And I probably used St. Ives scrub at that time too. Like just those very basic drugstore musts. I grew up in an area that did not have a department store. So it was like drugstore from the beginning. And then I was really into hair even back then. So
really,
like, oh yeah, like outrageous shampoo from Revlon. Look up the commercials, everyone. It was like Cindy Crawford. It was all the Glamazons. And I can think back and like that fragrance of that shampoo, it's like tied to my core memories as a teenager as well. I'm so obsessed.
Oh, that's so funny.
I was obsessed with my hair and keeping it like on lock.
That's amazing. I feel like, because, hair care is always a little bit behind skincare. Like we're just now seeing like the kind of precipice of hair care on social media. And you're the first person who has like that kind of a memory for hair care. So it's so interesting to hear. My hair was like crispy and a mess at that point. I like wasn't even paying any attention to my hair. It's so funny. That's awesome. So you're both longtime beauty editors, but you've also had a podcast since 2017. Is that right? Yeah, so
yes,
a long
that's right.
time. That's a long time, especially a beauty podcast, where you guys had to have been one of the first that ever launched. But you've interviewed so many incredible guests over that time. As I mentioned, I've listened to many of them. Have there, and I didn't prep you guys for this question, so you don't have to give us any names, but I'm just thinking about an episode that I listened to. Do you feel, I'm sure you've seen a variety of the way guests treat you. Were there ever any like awkward situations with guests, especially some of like these celebrity, brand founders or celebrity derms? I'm sure there were some awkward situations, and like, how did you handle them?
Well, I will say, as a beauty editor for this many years, and Carleen worked in magazines, I worked in magazines, we've been on set on photo shoots with big personalities always. And I will tell you, it's never the A-listers that are troublesome. Would you agree with that, Carleen?
Yeah, definitely. I would say it's certainly when it comes to celebrities, the A-listers are the most professional. I feel like that's why they are A-listers, because people like to work with them.
Yes.
They don't give them such a hard time, whereas like the C-listers are the hardest because they're just like, but why? But I should be an A-lister, that kind of attitude. So yeah, I think that generally I have to say that we've had such great rapport with so many of our guests. And I think that's because even from when we first started, we really prioritized doing them in person. And I think doing interviews in person, it's like allows you to establish this rapport a lot more quickly, and it's more personal. And, whenever there's a screen involved, I think it's easier to not be as engaged or like think of the other person as a real human. So we really only started doing virtual interviews during COVID because we had to. But prior to that, like we're based in Toronto, and because we were probably like the 4th or 5th beauty podcast in Apple Podcasts, we had like so many people just wanted to come on our show and flew to us like distinctly to be on our show. I know Dr. Pimple Popper was an early guest who came, just for that reason.
Renee
Rouleau, who still is one of our like top episodes on our show on how to build your skincare routine. So yeah, I think we've been really fortunate, and now we're just so comfortable in the gig that I think we have a knack for putting people at ease, if I will say, that people can just kind of relax as opposed to get concerned. But of course there's been the odd awkward moment. I think I can only really think of one that you can probably find on Reddit that was particularly awkward and kind of had a lot of buzz afterwards, because we just let the episode run as it was. We just kind of
for itself.
Yeah, we just kind of felt like that was the vibe of the interview, that it was what it was. So we just let it roll. Because frankly, it would have been like disingenuous to try to edit and cut all around it and make it something that it wasn't. So we just left it, and obviously any guest can say anything that they want. So, that's what it was.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I'm sure it takes a lot of finesse, but as you mentioned, you've spent a lot of time on sets. So you you did come into this with a lot of experience in the space, experience dealing with people, which is a lot of what podcasting is, especially when you're interviewing celebrities. And being long-time beauty editors, you've seen a lot of trends come and go. Are there any trends popping up or on the horizon that you feel like are just ridiculous, like things you don't even want to entertain? Anything that comes to mind?
Oh my gosh, how much time do we have?
All the time you need.
Like, truly. Well, right now, what I find absolutely ridiculous is food brands getting into fragrance. So there's a mayo brand out there right now, and I don't know if it's Hellmann's. I honestly can't even remember, but they've just come out with a fragrance, and they've put proper marketing budget behind it. Like, Will something like the quarterback from the Tennessee Titans is the face of this fragrance, this mayo-based fragrance. And Auntie Anne's, the pretzel company in every mall, they just came out with a fragrance called Need, Kenad.
Oh my God.
Now, they are ridiculous, but I am talking about them, and I think that is the whole entire point.
Yes, exactly. Who's selling these fragrances? Like, what retailers are these in, if any?
I think it's just a direct-to-consumer play, I think that happens a lot where maybe it's a bit of a gimmick and they just want to get the press or get the ink about their particular food product. And you know what? Sometimes those out there ideas are what gets the most traction on social media, right? So I'm not surprised. Now, this morning in Business of Fashion. I only read the headline. I have not read the article, but the title was Skincare for Dogs. And I was like, I'm out. I'm absolutely out. I don't even want, I wish I could click on it just to like rage read it, you know, but I didn't even have
Not
the
worth
subscription.
Oh, that is so funny. And Carlene, anything that you've seen that you think is just outrageous?
Well, I think gone are the days of like the coat hanger contouring, you know, that kind of thing on TikTok. I think there's more like practical hacks and tips on there these days, at least from what I see, but I'm not on there as much as Jill. She's probably seen something ridiculous lately. Have you, Jill?
On Instagram or on
TikTok?
On TikTok? I mean, I'm very interested in the morning shed routine.
Okay.
Which I don't know if you've seen this. I'm sure you have, Amy, because you're on TikTok a lot, right?
Yes, I've seen
Tell
it.
us, Jill.
It's crazy.
Basically, the tagline is the uglier you go to bed, the more beautiful you wake up.
Oh. Huh?
So you're kind of putting on a ton of stuff before you go to bed. So this could be rollers in your hair, mouth tape, which I do have and use.
Oh,
I have
right.
the K-Beauty one. Hair wraps, like face masks, like sheet masks that you can wear to bed now. So the idea is in the morning shed is when you get up, you take it all off and reveal.
Right. And it's like a butterfly coming out of a cocoon.
Yes.
Exactly.
And it you know
Okay.
what's funny is like I feel like it really does work, right? Like you take your hair out
Yes.
of the roller and it's nice and bouncy, and you take off that Korean sheet mask and your skin is nice and dewy. So I love watching those routines. I think they're fascinating. But I think
it's
that
kind
it
of
shows like a lot of
Yeah, no, I was just going to say it's in the vein, I guess, of a get ready with me, but not, you know?
yeah.
I like
it's so
it. I like that one.
fascinating.
I think it's fair. I think there's
Yeah,
something to
I
it.
really, if you can go to bed like that and you can stay like that and sleep comfortably,
Yeah.
I'm all for it. It definitely works. I think.
It's not what I thought you meant when you said go to the uglier you go to bed, the prettier you wake
Cuter
up.
you wake up.
I was thinking more like gone to bed at 4 a.m., like mascara
Oh.
still on, sleeping against your hand. I'm like, that's not going to work. But the way you
No,
said
honey,
it,
that's,
that works.
That's the brat shed.
right.
You guess the color of my underwear shed.
Right,
You know?
right.
That's where
Okay.
we're at. No, this is still, you're still very demure and mindful if you are doing the morning shed.
Absolutely. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jill, I have to ask you, what are your thoughts on the mouth tape? How long have you been doing it?
Okay, well, I use it for a very specific reason, and that is if I am sleeping over or having like a girl sleepover, whatever. I'm single, by the way, so I don't wear it every night, but I do snore. And I use it if I am, sharing a hotel room with someone or
Got
a
it.
cottage or what have you. That's when I use it. Now, all of these other benefits about it making your jawline more snatched and whatnot, personally, I have not seen that. But I do think it's better for you to breathe through your nose at night, I think. Because, a lot of people say that you're especially if you're like leaning toward like a sleep apnea or something, it's like you're going to sleep more deeply and more restfully if you're breathing through your nose, waking up less, they say. And I have to say it really works. Like people have said that I was like, are you sure I didn't snore last night? And they were like, no, not at all. So I think it does
I
work
need
for
to try
that.
this. I need to try this.
I can bring some for you, Carlene, on our next trip.
All
and I know
right.
like Lauren Bostick has some. Hers are really cute. Mine is just
The
a
Skinny
Japanese
Confidential is the
Yes.
brand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Have you tried it?
I have. I've tried it on and off. The only thing that bugs me is like the adhesive getting on my mouth. So I don't know if your brand does that, but like when I take it off in the morning, I could feel the adhesive on my lips and it drives me nuts. However, I sleep so much better when I use it.
Yeah.
I even like my husband will use it sometimes too, which is funny. He's like not normally into this stuff. And I'm not usually one to like hop on these like sort of biohack trends, but I find it helpful. I really like to sleep on my back. It's like one of my like little beauty secrets. I swear it helps so much, but I have a hard time staying on my back. And I notice that when I use the mouth tape, I just sleep more soundly, so I don't like roll around or kind of move off my little situation.
I would say that I highly recommend this one. I'll text you the link. It's the adhesive isn't so wild that you feel it the next day. I certainly didn't feel that. Now, one time, I don't know what I was doing. Clearly, someone was chasing me in my dreams because I woke up with the mouth tape like on my forehead. So I don't know what happened that night, but anyway, for the most part, I recommend it.
That's so funny. Okay, so kind of speaking of this space, over the years, are there any other little like hacks or tricks you guys have picked up, like mouth taping, that have kind of stuck around? Any trends you try that have really kind of cemented their place in your routine?
That's a good question. I would say, I mean, we talked about this on our show with you, and I don't know that this is a hack, but like things we've adopted, I feel like since starting the podcast that we didn't do before would be like the LED light therapy, like the masks. I know Jill and I both do that now. And we had Dr. Dennis Gross on our show who really educated us on what the benefits are in terms of, and you know this, like red light for inflammation and blue light to get rid of the bacteria that causes acne. And but the way that he kind of described it as an ingredient, the way that vitamin C and the way that retinol, to think of it that way, that really resonated with me because for me, because I have rosacea and inflammation is like such an issue for me that that was something that neither retinol nor vitamin C would address. So it really kind of like filled a spot that I needed to fill. And so that's something that I really have adopted. And I feel like it is a trend right now, but probably more the way that it will probably end up being a classic like retinol, I suspect.
I agree with you. Have you seen a difference in your rosacea since using red light therapy?
I haven't. So that episode, that's only because I don't think I've been using it long enough.
Okay.
That episode just came out like a few weeks ago or a month ago or something. And that's when I was like really sold on it. And I was like, I need to start using this all the time. And then we've been cottaging and stuff. But yeah, I'm definitely, it's going to be in my fall rotation for sure.
Well, and I find his mask very comfortable. I know there's like mixed reviews. I find it so comfortable and it's easy to walk around. I don't have any issues with the straps. Like I can put it on and do whatever I'm doing around the house. And I just love the way it like, it's hard. So people think it's not going to be as comfortable as the soft ones, but it just like fits on your face so well and sits there so nicely.
It's soft on the inside. It's got like that silicone kind of padding. But the thing that that I really took from that conversation was that you really do need to use it every day. So that's why for myself, like if I'm at a cottage or whatnot and I'm not, so that's why I haven't been using it every day. But yeah, he really, with any of these tools, he was like, if you're not using it every day, you won't see the results.
Yeah. And something that's really stuck with me, and I believe in it wholeheartedly. You know, we have almost 350 episodes at this point, and something that Renee Rouleau talked about on our show and Dr. Whitney Bowe is the idea of skin cycling your ingredients. I think that makes a tremendous difference, and it is a way that you can really work in those actives and not feel like your face is going to fall off or you're not doing too much, not doing the most. And I am a big fan of that, and I do it all the time. And I remember we did that episode. Carlene and I did a fun episode. You know, part of our podcast, and you might know Amy because you listen on occasion, is we do these what are called #damn-good episodes, where we're reviewing all of these products in the market. We're not always interviewing experts, but the two of us as beauty editors are putting our we're just test driving a lot of stuff. And we switched routines one time, like a Freaky Friday idea.
Oh,
and Carleen had to do like a whiteboard. She was like, wait, what am I doing on this night and whatever? And to me, at this point, it's almost like a second nature. It's like what I enjoy doing is the skin cycling. And I almost don't think about it anymore. That's how ingrained it is.
Yeah. Whereas I felt like I had to get really organized when I tried this on. I was like, I need to write this down. Like, what am I doing? Wait, is there an app for this? But it really was, it really was kind of a paradigm shift for me as well, where it was like, oh, I see. It's not about they always say consistency is key, and it's not about having the same routine every night. When it comes to all of the products that you're using, it's about being consistent, but with the cycling, because especially if you have sensitive skin like mine, I cannot use retinol every night. I wouldn't be able to use like an exfoliating toner every night. So really like switching that up so I'm not overblowing it on my face and destroying my skin barrier. I agree with Jill. I think that is a trend that's here to stay. And also skin flooding. That's something that, that idea kind of got popular. A lot of times it's something that people do already, as Jill said. It's just now there's a moniker for it. But I like skin flooding too. The idea of just really hydrating my skin with by layering products as opposed to using heavier and heavier products that can just clog your pores and cause outbreaks or something like that. So yeah, I love layering like an essence and then a serum and then a moisturizer and just doing all of those steps and doing it fairly quickly so that the essence is helping those next layers to absorb better. I think there's definitely merit to that as well.
Yeah, I think that is the most effective way to, especially like dehydrated skin.
Yeah.
It's so much more effective to layer. I talk about that all the time with my patients, rather than just people will take out a giant scoop of their moisturizer and then it just ends up sitting on the skin rather than layering, which is a lot more effective.
Yeah, I think it was Renee. Shout out Renee. She keeps coming up, but she gave a visual, I believe, of like, think about a dry sponge like that you do your dishes with. Like when it's bone dry, it's really hard to like maneuver.
Pick up.
It's very rigid and it's like,
well, if you think about spilling on a counter and you take a dry sponge and you go to clean it up, it's kind of just pushing it around. But if you have like a slightly damp sponge, it actually is like soaking it up. So I agree. That was a great metaphor.
Flooding, baby.
I love that analogy. Those are both great tips. So I want to chat a little bit because I think, well, first of all, I would love to hear what your guys' take is on like celebrity skincare. Now we're seeing celebrity hair care with Blake Lively coming out with her hair care line. And we're also seeing some interesting celebrities coming out with skincare or beauty lines, as you guys mentioned, like sports stars. So I'd love to hear, like, where do you think the celebrity space is going? What's changing? Do you think that celebrity brands are dead, or do you think that people are still going to buy into them?
It's such a good question. I think there's always going to be room for somebody who has like a clear, authentic message and it just makes sense. Like something fun that just came out is that Dolly Parton is launching a makeup line. And my first reaction was like, oh my God, that should have existed already, you know? So I think that there is room out there, but I think the cash grabby kind of skincare brands with like the celebs name slapped on them, like those days are done. Like those are just not breaking through in the way that I think that they may have like 3-4 years ago. And also the DTC landscape has changed so much. The barrier used to be so low. It is still pretty low to get into the skincare game, but now you really need a lot of marketing power and support to get your brand out there in front of people. You often need a retail support. So I just think, like, let's give an example of like Brad Pitt's My Domain. I don't think I've heard about it since it launched.
Yeah.
Same. J-Lo skincare quietly leaving Sephora. Things like this that are they're signs that it's definitely on the downturn. But like yesterday I went to a road event and there were girls that lined up outside for a free product from Rhode for 6 hours.
Wow.
So the buzz, there's certain brands that still have that buzz. And think about Hailey. She's got that glazing moment. She's so stylish. She's aspirational. You believe she's using the products. Like that tie-in to me is so key to the brands.
Yeah, it's definitely a loaded question because I think that there are a couple of things at play. I think Jill's absolutely right in terms of, does it feel like organic enough to the celebrity to be believable, to have that longevity? And Hailey has it. I think Victoria Beckham Beauty is another one that has, I think that will definitely be around, another 10, 20 years from now. But the bottom line is because the products are very good. And I think that's the thing is like when this whole celebrity beauty trend started, it was I think it was more about the licensing and as opposed to going deeper into like partnering with really high quality chemists and developers and testing it with key opinion leaders in the space who were giving feedback, all of this. So the celebrity brands have gotten smarter, where the products are legitimately really good, where I think when it first started, this whole trend, it was like the products were just okay. And they were really relying so heavily on the celebrity face. So as an example, if you take The Outset, which is a skincare line, and Scarlett Johansson's skincare line, it feels like it's a really great skincare line in spite of Scarlett Johansson. Do you know what I mean? And I will say that I would give credit to the person who wrote that, except I can't remember who it is. So that's not my original thought, but I read that and I was like, that's right. Because it, you can tell it's got so much of like a derm stamp all over it. And in terms of like clean formulations, and I don't mean anything to do with non-toxic, but just not irritating, not, for sensitive skin, it doesn't feel organic to Scarlett Johansson. So I feel like that line could exist on its own without her. You know what I mean? And that could still be around. But I think that to Jill's point, that something like a Hailey Bieber or a Victoria Beckham Beauty, it's like you really have the combination of the star power with these legitimately great formulations. And that's the cream that's going to rise to the top. And if it's just like mediocre or it doesn't feel like an organic fit, I think those will be gone.
With Blake Lively coming out with this hair care line, I kind of was like, oh, I don't know how this is going to fare out. Apparently it sold out the first week. It sold over $1 million worth of product in 1 week. I'm not the target market, I guess, but she also has a very powerful retailer target and they're putting it front and center in every single thing they're doing. So, but will that have the longevity? Only time will tell.
Yeah, I think hers was a little bit of a surprise for me because I don't innately think of her as like a beauty guru or someone even really interested in that. She just seems like, I don't know, from the outside, she seems like maybe those things aren't, I don't want to say important to her, but I just never put those two together for her. So I was really shocked by that. And I agree. I think, Hailey's line made sense. And I mean, the best thing she did was Ron Robinson, I think. I actually really like some of those formulations. And to your point, Carlene, just kind of pairing with expert chemists, expert derms, just to kind of expand the reach and the knowledge of those brands, I think is incredible. But it is very interesting. Yeah. And you know what's funny? I actually loved the JLo Beauty moisturizer with SPF. I loved it. I thought it was such a great product. I know, like people were always surprised to hear that.
Yeah, no, I think there was some great products, but it's like the difference. What I'm saying is like the difference between her vibe with the products. Was she out there? Was she shaking hands, taking selfies, doing in the bathrooms with? No, like versus Hailey, it's like she gets it a little bit more, I think. And we interviewed her on our show. You can go back. It's about 1.5 years ago if anyone wants to listen. And you can tell she's testing lab samples. She's, she's on the forefront and cares a lot about what a Charlotte Parley or Ron Robinson thinks. Like she did all of that homework to make sure that she was bringing something to the table that was really good and at an excellent price point. We can't forget that either, because it would have been very easy for her to make everything very expensive.
This episode is brought to you by, well, me. Skinthusiast.com is your one-stop shop for all things skin, hair, and beauty. I have countless blog posts to educate you on all the skin concerns and most common skin questions I receive. We also have a complete skincare basics guide on our shop page, as well as the cutest In My Skin era crew necks. If you want to support the show, please head over to skinthusiast.com/shop. And don't forget to rate and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts. One of the topics that we kind of briefly chatted about over email before we spoke was beauty incubators. And my audience is very, they love skincare, but they're not as well versed on like the business side or even the trending side of skincare and some of these newer brands. So I'd love to hear, well, first of all, can you give us a little 101 about what a beauty incubator is for the listeners who don't know? And where do you see the future for these companies, if you will?
This was a trend, a really big trend, I'd say about 5-6 years ago, where a lot of influencers in particular were launching beauty brands. And so they were being approached by these sort of plug and play turnkey operations where they would, these beauty incubators would be saying, we have the chemist, we have the formulator, we have the marketing ready to go. We just need your face to be part of this. And then, we're going to be we're going to be partners in this, and it's all going to be hunky dory, and everyone's going to get rich and walk away from it in 5 years. And I think you saw the implosion of that specifically with like Amorous Beauty most recently. So they had Rose Inc., they had JVN, they had Naomi Watts Stripes brand. There are a multitude of others. And, they basically left all of these people in the dust. JVN bought his brand back. I believe Naomi Watts has new investors. So I just think it was this kind of dream scenario. Somebody's like knocking on your door going, hey, we have all of these elements ready to make a turnkey brand all about you, and you really don't have to do any heavy lifting, so let's do it. And it sounds kind of too good to be true, and turns out in a lot of cases it was. And that's one example. Now, there are a few that are surviving and thriving, one of them being the Center, which you mentioned Susan Yara in our podcast that you did on our show. So Susan's Naturium is part of the Center. Chriselle Lim's Fleur is part of the Center. Make Beauty with Carrie Barber, that brand Salt Air, they are crushing it. So I think that before it was just, all of those people are very involved and are giving feedback on the product and everything. I think they realized it's not enough to just have an influencer and put them in a social media campaign. And that's that. Watch the money roll in. I think there's a lot of cautionary tales out there now with these types of deals. And a lot of influencers got burned because of it.
Yeah, and I think something the Center does right is each of those brands is so unique, and each of the co-founders is so unique, right? And Dr. Sam Ellis just came on, well, not just, she's been on board for a while with Prequel, and we're just seeing how well those brands are doing. And there's definitely something there. Like each of those brands is so amazing and unique in its own right and has something really special. And especially when it comes to the skincare brands, the formulations I think are some of the best on the market and available at such good price points that it's just, they kind of knocked it out of the park with those brands.
Yeah. And I don't know. We don't want to get too much like in the weeds, but something happened with the Center because they were called something else before. I don't know what it was. But clearly there was something happened. And so it's, I think it's an evolving landscape, but it's not as easy as it, I would say beware if you are like an influencer and someone wants you to just be the face of something,
Through all these years, you interviewing all these guests and kind of taking on these different routines and different tips, is there anything like from the beginning you didn't subscribe to? Like even if an expert said it was the thing to do, was there anything that kind of you guys were like, no, like I'm not even gonna try it, or maybe you tried it and you're like, absolutely not, it's not for me. We talked about flooding and skin cycling and how much you guys enjoy those. Is there anything that you maybe tried and you're like, it's not for me?
Ooh, honestly, some professional treatments.
Okay. Do tell.
I am just, and it has nothing to do with even necessarily their efficacy, but I am just a total chicken. Okay, I'll give you an example, like microblading. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily skincare, but at the time everybody was doing it, I had access to like the best person to potentially do it. And I just kind of like chickened out because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like that look. And, turns out 5 years later, like nobody's really doing it anymore. It serves its purpose, but I was just like, can it be good to be using a razor blade to basically create little hairs on my forehead? Like, I just don't know. Jury was out for me on that one. And I still kind of feel that way about PRP and microneedling, I know it's safe to the nth degree. It's been tested to the nth degree, but if I see blood, I'm out. Sorry.
I get that. That's a reason a lot of people are squeamish about it for obvious reasons. Like it's a little scary to look at, right?
It's true. Jill and I have also skipped lip filler. I would never say never, but I just have seen too many examples, I think, of like that the telltale sign that's like the duck plump from the side or the balls or the bubbles. Plus, I think it's probably really painful. So yeah, that's something where, I think it's just really about subtlety when it comes to cosmetic surgery. And I've had cosmetic surgery myself, so I'm by no means against it. But yeah, I just think that's one thing we've never gotten on board with. Not for us, I guess. But again, never say never.
It's interesting with
and
lip
no
filler
judgment
too.
either if someone wants to do it.
It's just for us personally. It's no matter how much of a trend it's been, because it certainly has been. I think there's, the numbers go up every year, the number of people who are doing filler. But that's just something we've never done.
And I think, Amy, is like a lot of people think that beauty editors get into beauty because they love makeup and they love doing their hair and all of this stuff. But like we got into reporting on beauty because yes, we like the subject matter, but we love creating content and, bringing these stories to life and everything. And I think that that's something that's maybe a misconception about maybe why we're in this industry, because we're not professionals, right? Like I still can't really do a wing liner that well, but we are able to, we have the connections to talk to the experts and bring that content in. So I think that's why maybe also we're a bit gun shy to get on board with some of these trends. I remember back in our magazine days, and it would just strike fear into my heart if like a brand invited me to one of their beauty counters at a department store to get my makeup done. Like I just never liked how it looked, and I was like, I'm good. I learned my lesson that way a few times.
It's funny that like listening to you say that, I think what makes at least the most compelling beauty editors for me, and I love beauty editors. I always joke like they're my celebrities. I love all of you guys, like watching your content. In another life, I would have loved to be one. But I think what makes really amazing beauty editors and beauty content creators are the ones who are skeptical about treatments and procedures and who aren't, because it's so boring to watch somebody who will do anything, right? And like, yes, you get to see the before and after, but it just seems so unrealistic. And I'd rather hear somebody talk about what they do and don't do, what they would never do again, yes, but I feel like those make the best content creators, because you can kind of see through it when somebody gets into something. I'm like, beauty content creation is what I'm thinking of the most, just to get all the free treatments and stuff. And it's like annoying as a consumer to watch that, you know what I mean? So I like consuming the content of people who are more skeptical about procedures, about trends, about all this stuff. And I'm sure you guys
each their own. Like I love that there's certain people out there who are trying everything. But I'm just explaining like our perspective of sort of where we're coming from and why we are, inherently a bit skeptical, because we've been doing this for a hot minute and we've seen things come and go. And so you just want to make sure that, it's for you and you're just like not jumping on the bandwagon. But we'll report on anything. We've talked about I'm blanking, the liquid microneedling trend. We did try that. We've tried I feel like this year we're getting a little bit more into trying lasers and whatnot, and I think that we're going to do a whole episode about that coming up and our experiences with it, even if you're kind of chicken like me.
That'll be a great episode, because coming from people who are a little bit more skeptical, I think that's the kind of information I would want to see as a consumer. So that'll be a great episode. And I'm sure you guys have seen too that money, no matter how much money you have, you can still end up looking bad. And that has always scared me, because I have, been able to interview and interact with people who have access to the best, and they still end up looking crazy. And that always, not everyone, of course, it's a small percentage of people.
Yeah.
But I think that's a realization in the industry, is that even with access to all of the best things, it's still prudent to have a healthy skepticism about some of these things.
Absolutely.
So a couple of wrap-up questions. I want to hear from both of you. What are your holy grail skincare products? Carlene, let's start with you. Or it could be skincare or beauty, like holy grail, can't live without.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I think with skincare it's tough because we try so many different things that I don't stay on any one thing too long, but this summer I've been loving Ultraviolet, this sunscreen line. There's a product, it's called the Ultraviolet Fave Fluid Ultralight Screen SPF 50. And it's just like a very, very light, milky consistency. And so I wore that all summer, and my husband's been using it all summer. It's pretty much on empty. So I have to shout that one out because I definitely would use it again. It's just such a thin consistency, but it gives you a bit of a glow. It's something that works under makeup. And the fact that it's SPF 50, it's just like, it's so good. So that launched in Canada this summer, and it's launching in the US, I believe, next year, early next year. I think early next year.
I was wondering, I haven't seen that one. That's why.
That is a beauty editor favorite. And like from across the pond, it's from Australia originally, this brand. And people love it. Like the beauty editors love it. So it's been like really exciting to get it here. And I think you guys are going to love it in the US when it launches next year. So that's like huge. And then makeup wise, I've been loving Victoria Beckham Beauty lately. As I mentioned earlier, I think their formulas are just amazing. I recently, like today, I'm wearing this highlighter stick. It's like this gorgeous goldy brown color, and it just goes on. It's kind of like the Chanel Le Balm.
I love that one.
Yeah, this one's kind of like that, but it's got a little bit more pigment and warmth, and it's just like so lovely. I love Hourglass. I can't be without like this palette.
Oh yeah, their
palettes where it's got the highlighter,
the best. Yeah,
and the bronzer and the blush,
yes.
The ambient lighting, and you can just like swirl them all together. It's so easy. I love that. What else? I love the I mentioned Chanel earlier. I'm always using their this one, Le Beige.
Oh my gosh, that's like one of my favorites of all time.
Right? The Le Beige tint, the water tint. I love
like
this
such a skin but better finish. Like so
yeah,
so good.
Exactly. So that's a great one for summer. But again, because I have rosacea, I need a little bit more coverage. So then I go in with the matching Le Beige. I can't read what this one's called. Have you tried this one?
Yeah, that
the one has a little bit more coverage.
Yes, more foundation like than skin tint. Yes.
Yeah, so this one has like the other one I think is 70% water. This one's 40% or something like that. So they're fantastic layered, and it just is like this kind of like refreshing. So I just put this through my T-zone where I need it. That one's a favorite. The Say Glowy Super Gel. I cannot live without like the bronzer one, the highlighter one. I'm really about complexion probably more than anything because I don't know how to do my eye makeup very well.
I'm exactly the same. I really focus on complexion and then just swipe a little bit of mascara. It's like the extent of my eye makeup.
Exactly. So yeah, those are like my tried and true staples, I would say.
I love a lot of those. And Jill, what about you? What are your holy grails?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I love a lot of K-beauty products, and more I'm just finding they're in my routine, like the brand Then I Met You, their cleansing balm. I'm obsessed with that. If people haven't tried it yet, they're actually just launching into Sephora in September. So you can actually go in and try it yourself. They have a wonderful assortment of incredible products, and I like a lot of K-beauty sunscreens, like the Beauty of Joseon, which is like the viral one. I was just reading in Women's Wear Daily that last year Beauty of Joseon's sales were $100 million, and 40% of the sales were from that one sunscreen.
Wow. Wait, which sunscreen is it?
It's the Beauty of Joseon.
But what's like the actual like sunscreen? Because they have multiple, right? Or do they only have one liquid? Because I use their stick. I love their stick, but I've never used any of their liquids.
No, this one's a liquid one.
It's the SPF 50 PA++, the one in the tube.
And they just launched a new one. They launched a Relief Sun Aqua Fresh, which is a lighter weight version.
But like if I was that's just a staggering figure when you think about the fact that they don't have the marketing budget of Neutrogena. They do not have the marketing budget of L'Oreal. And even a Supergoop, I think, is like they're nipping at the heels of a Supergoop in terms of their dominance in the market. And it's incredible formula. It's so affordable. It's like maybe $25 or 30. I can't even recall at the moment. But just get it. Enjoy it. Love it. It's so good. And apparently they're in 2024, they're in talks to bring it to CVS and Target. That's the word on the street. And they project that they will exceed $200 million in sales by next year. So it's just like they're growing, like market share crazy. So that's a favorite. A longtime staple for me is Dermalogica Special Cleansing Gel. I love it. I love a lot of Dermalogica products, the microfoliant. These are things I've been using for like a decade or more, just because I love how well they get my makeup off and how gentle the exfoliation is. And then a brand that I know it's been around for a hot minute, but we just discovered it is Medicate, this liquid peptide serum. I'm really, really liking this for a daily serum. It's not tacky at all, which I sometimes find serums in a dropper to be. I'm really enjoying that for my oily skin. Have you tried it?
I have not tried that one. I haven't tried anything from that brand. I
always thought that this brand, by the way, everyone, was like $250 for a serum. This is $60.
So pretty middle of the
definitely, road. Yeah, like it's not, Beauty of Joseon price, but still, yes. In the serum landscape,
yeah,
I guess
far worse.
It's good.
Yeah,
I wanted to shout that one out. And then this is a new exfoliating toner that I have been loving from The Ordinary. It's $16 or $14. It's their Saccharomyces Ferment 30% Milky Toner. And it's an exfoliating toner, but it's amazing for sensitive skin. And it has that K-beauty element, the milkiness of the toner, but you just cleanse your skin and then you just kind of put it in your palm and then you press it on. And I just totally noticed the refinement in like skin texture from using it. I feel like it's The Ordinary's first foray really into that K-beauty moment.
Yes. Yeah, I was just trying to think. I haven't seen anything like that from them before. I love a milky toner, or a milky essence. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. It just feels so good on the skin. Yes.
Yeah, and it's just so funny, putting everything into context with the K-beauty. I just saw an article. It was literally this morning, and it said why Korea's beauty scene is taking over the world again, because we were kind of here for the 1.0, and now it's the 2.0, and it's just growing and growing and growing. And I love to see it because the products perform, the price point is incredible, and the innovation is there.
I was, as I mentioned, talking with Dr. Bauman earlier today, and we were talking about one of our favorite moisturizers, which is called Xeraphyte. It's the moisturizer that we recommend to our patients in clinic. It's like a very small brand. It's sold via Skin Type Solutions. And we were laughing because she's like, this is Korean technology. It's a Korean moisturizer. It just, when it launched, like Korean beauty, K-beauty wasn't a thing across the world. And it's funny because it is one of the most innovative moisturizers. Like the technology they use, it's called the Maltese Cross. It's really cool, but it's been around for decades. It just hasn't been promoted as a K-beauty moisturizer because that wasn't a thing here, at least back then. So I love so many K-beauty products and love that they're having multiple well-deserved moments.
Yeah. I mean, how predictable are we that we're talking about SPF and K-beauty? I love it. But this is the beauty editor life.
Yeah. And, if it works, it works. That's what it always comes back to. I think sometimes I'm afraid I sound like a broken record because I talk about the same things, but, we talk about what works. And it's not a huge group of things, to be honest. So I like to wrap up every show by asking my guests, if you could tell your younger self one thing, what would it be? It could relate to beauty and skincare, or it could be something completely different. If there's something that comes to mind that you wish you could tell, like 20-year-old you.
Get on YouTube, girl.
I love that, actually.
Well, it's just like, who knew that, it was going to take off the way it did. So as beauty editors, that was a big shift in our career, when print went to digital. Yeah, what else would I say? I think it's just, enjoy what you have. Like, you only have youth once, and if you don't enjoy it, then you're always going to feel like you're behind an 8 ball, So I think it's easy to just ignore that if you are younger and just be like, yeah, whatever. But I think that, the things that used to make me feel like, oh my gosh, my face is so round and I wish I had the Kate Moss cheekbones. And then eventually I got to an age where I was like, oh, I'm so happy I had all that juicy collagen, because now I'm not like hollowing out as much. And, so you have to appreciate those things when you have them,
And for me, I would say just more like just take up the space. I think we all spend so much of our time in our 20s kind of self-doubting or apologizing, like the apology tour, my 20s, literally. Oh, I'm sorry we did this, sorry did that. And I just think you need to be, kind of step into the moment a little bit more and own it, because everybody's just figuring it out. So take up the space, because if you don't, someone else will.
Those were both exceptional answers, I have to say. I think really, I think the listeners are really going to resonate with those. We have a lot of younger listeners, which is why I like to ask that question, because I think I can't imagine being in my teens or my 20s right now, my early 20s right now, with just the height of social media, and it's just a different landscape. It's a different world. So I always like to give the advice from the guests for those topics. So thank you for those insightful answers. And thank you for taking the time to chat with me today. I know you're both very busy. What's next for Breaking Beauty? Where can everybody find Breaking Beauty? Where can everybody find you guys? What do you guys have coming down the pipeline?
Well, speaking of YouTube, we did join.
Yeah, finally.
So we have a channel, Breaking Beauty Podcast, on YouTube, and we're posting more and more of our episodes on there because a lot of people want to watch, and we've had some fantastic guests in the last little bit. Everyone from Kristen Cavallari. I mean, she's just always aspirational and fun to listen to. And she just launched a new perfume that she talked to us all about. And we had the Lipstick Lesbians on, and if you're on TikTok, you know who they are. They're incredible educational gurus. And we have lots of fun episodes coming up. There's never a shortage of topics all these years later.
That's right. I can tell you that next week, for next week's episode, we have Chriselle Lim. So she, of course, is an influencer for such a long time, such a successful and like a fashion guru turned beauty entrepreneur with her breakout fragrance line Fleur, which is just has absolutely exploded at Sephora, and her body and hair mist now are just like the level up for the Sol de Janeiro mists, and they're just incredible. Like I tried those fragrances because we interviewed her, and I was like, oh my God, they're actually so good. The skin
they are so
must.
Great.
So we have a great chat with her. She and I bond about blepharoplasty because she had it done, I had it done. So we chat about that. And then the following week, just a bit later in September, Jill and I are doing a best of fall roundup. So we're trying like a bazillion fall products that are new on the market. We're trying to hit some of the most like exciting, buzziest ones, and we're going to review them, what we think of them. So tune in for that. And then I have to plug myself because I never do, because I'm of a different generation. But I'm actually working on launching my own skincare line. It's going to launch in early 2025. So you can follow me on Instagram at Carleen Higgins for updates to find out more.
Oh, that's really exciting. Amazing. I'm glad you mentioned too about the fall beauty trends, because that was actually a question from a listener that we didn't have time to get to. So now that listener can click through to that episode. So thank you both so much. We'll follow along on Instagram and on YouTube and follow along all these exciting updates for both of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
You can find Jill and Carlene's podcast, Breaking Beauty, wherever you listen to podcasts. They are full with so much valuable beauty information, and they spill the tea on the beauty industry every single week. If you liked this episode, please share it with your community and tag us and let us know what was your favorite part of the episode. And as always, I'll talk to you next week, skin enthusiasts.